Hi everyone, my name's Kyle. The channel's called Kyle by the Creek. Today I acquired this 20-year-old John Deere tractor on a trade-in. Let's see what I got. Here she is. So it's a 38-inch deck. It's a 5-speed transmission. It's got a 13 horsepower Kohler Command on it. It's an LT 133 and it's probably older than 20 years old. Might be 25 years old. I think John Deere made these between like 1998 and 2001. So I gotta figure out the exact year on this thing, but this is what we have. Lots of sun glare. It's the hottest day of the year, about 100 degrees in Connecticut. So you're seeing it full on. Engine looks pretty good. Small, you know, small little Command here, but these engines are nice. The hood is messed up. They all are. But I tell you what, it still kind of wants to stay on. You can see it's broken right there. But yeah, that's kind of cool. At least it does that, and it's not totally smashed up. Looks like it was stored inside. I don't see much for dry rot. That's awesome. Deck looks really quite nice. Let's see if it'll shut. Kind of. I know there's one. Yeah. These poor hoods, you know. Usually they're totally smashed. I see a lot of people actually sell these with no hood. I don't know who buys them though, but okay, there's our 5-speed. Okay, let's see. We got MOL 133A 154073. I'm sure the date is in there somewhere. Or I'll just look it up. But yeah, let's see. What's the issue with it? Apparently, it doesn't do anything. So nothing happens when you turn the key. So the seller, he's actually a friend of mine who I sold the tractor to, and he exchanged this for the delivery fee because it was like a 45-minute drive one way. He said turn the key and nothing happens. He thinks the starter's dead. So that, you know, it's not always the starter. There's lots of other electrical issues, as you guys know, but he said this thing owes me nothing. I got my money's worth out of this guy a long time ago, and he just didn't want it around anymore. So we'll get to work on it. Just a couple days later here, and I haven't worked on this thing much, but the one thing I did do was figure out that it's just this front bumper that's messed up on this thing. This tab is broken off of it. There's this whole spot, but besides that, the hood is pretty good. If I could flip it over, I'll show you. There's a thing here that connects to the fender, and that's broken off. And it looks a little funny on the fender because it would like slot into there. But I'm not going to worry too much about that. The good news is someone figured this out. There are aftermarket bumper. Actually, there's aftermarket hoods, but they sell all the pieces. This inner part, the outer part, and the bumper. And that bumper is like $17.99 on eBay. So I already purchased that. That's on its way. Maybe that's a little premature, but I bet this thing is going to run, so I think it's going to be fine. Let's jump the battery, see what happens here. I think at the minimum we can just jump the solenoid. I'm sure we'll hear this thing run right now. Nothing when you turn the key. Let's just jump the solenoid here. see it's starting to spit some smoke. Well, we can give it a little starter spray. There's no fuel solenoid, so that's cool. Nice and simple. See already that there was a tab off of the solenoid. That might do it. That might have come loose from me just messing around with it, but how about that, guys? That's a runner. Well, yeah, this thing is sweet. Oh, look how flat that tire is. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Boy, that was dumb of me. How did I not notice that? I guess because I was mowing on a hill. I didn't really notice. But yeah, it'll be even better with a rear tire that has air. All right, I want to check on the voltage, and then I want to see if that solenoid is actually fixed, if it was just missing the trigger wire. This engine runs great. That's a little weird. It seemed like it had higher voltage with less RPM. I don't think this thing is charging the battery. I mean, it's weird that it's sitting at 12.8. Like, that's high. That's usually not where a battery rests. All these wires are like really hot. Ooh, burning hot. Wow. All right, shut her down. What is going on there? I nearly burned my finger. These things are smoking hot right now. What is going on? I love all those mystery relays that John Deere has. Okay, so we have some content for you guys, because it's not just going to be as simple as just going, I know, Carmen. She's a good dog. You're a good dog. You just wanted to say hello. Well, yeah, some electrical issues, charging issues maybe. We'll figure it out. What'd you get there?
I found a crayfish claw across our stream.
Nice.
In the water.
That's a pretty big claw for a crayfish. Nice find.
And also, I already saw a crayfish that was hiding under a rock.
Neat.
You never know what you find.
Never know what you find over by the creek. All right, what did we find here? Well, if I unplug the voltage regulator, the wires don't heat up. If they're plugged in, especially this brown one, heats up like crazy. Also, yes, the key switch works just fine. This trigger wire was unplugged from the solenoid, so that's all that was. But yeah, we have some sort of charging issue. It seems like I'm getting 7 DC volts coming out of A. This is AB, well, it says ABA. And I can try to look up, but like the rest of them don't really have much coming out for voltage. It's like 0.9 amps coming out of this one. So I don't know. I mean, it could very well just be this regulator is messed up, which does often happen. But yeah, I've never experienced one where like the wires are starting to smoke like really hot, especially this brown one. I can't believe it still exists. It didn't just melt down completely. Yeah, kind of odd stuff. Yeah, I got this thing running. That was kind of a hectic mess. But yeah, this engine has a bit of a governor problem. I don't know, I think it's internally. That's why this thing is parked here. And I gotta take that engine apart to see what's going on with the governor. But anyway, it looks like it has a working voltage regulator. I'm getting 14.5 volts on both the A, B, and the other A tabs. So yeah, I'm gonna pop this one off and try it out on the John Deere. Okay, let's remove this voltage regulator here. Okay, pretty easy swap. All right, that didn't solve it. So we could have a bad stator. It's not the worst problem, but it's a little odd because those don't usually go, but that seems to be where I'm leaning towards right now. Bad stator. So that came undone pretty easily. Even the flywheel came loose there with just a good little hit. Flywheel looks fine. It's packed a little bit with grass, but I don't believe that would cause us problems, but you never know. Okay, how do you get that? That's weird. Doesn't look like there's a good way to get that stator out of there, the wiring harness. You got a hole here. What do you have to do? Take this thing apart? That doesn't make any sense. YouTube says I have to stick a flathead screwdriver in here and then I can pull these connector tabs out. Yeah. Alright. That works. Okay, still kind of weird because now you're into this one too. I guess cut it because I can always splice it in. I mean, it depends on the other one I get, but this is kind of odd. I mean, I could just cut this whole thing if the stator is no good, which I'm pretty much saying it's no good. I could just cut all the wires, but then I still have to install the new one. It just, maybe it's easier. It'd sure be nice if you didn't. Like, how did they do this? Why did they do this that way? I'm just going for it this way. There we go. Here's my tower of stators, my collection here. These are, I have 9 of them. I just stacked them up like this. I'll show you why. But there's 9 of them. They're all Briggs & Stratton stators. Here's the Kohler stator. You can see it's got a much smaller inside diameter, and the outside diameter is bigger too. Let alone it's going to have a different connection than all these Briggs that either have like the 1 wire or like the pretty standard 2. Not that I couldn't make any of these things work, but all right, my other option way back there, in there, is a parts Kohler command. So I think I'm gonna dive into that. You know, of course I could always just buy one, but this is kind of how I am. I want to go through my parts if I can. So here's the parts one, and by the looks of it, we'll be able to use this one. So let's just take the flywheel off and get access to it. Okay, we got it off. Wasn't too much of an issue. And I should be able to put it through like that. I think we'll be okay. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking. I have a green and a yellow and a black. Right now the black is not connected. These 3 are coming off of the stator here, which is a little different. It's got 3 wires coming off of it instead of the old one, which only had 2. So I connected the green and the yellow to the 2 wires that I cut. I just put little connectors on it, so these could be easily removed or switched around if needed, but I don't think it really matters about switching it around. The only one I don't know about is this black one, which I'm assuming is a ground. I just don't know what to do with it. So if it needs to be grounded, I'll ground it. I suppose we'll figure that out. And yeah, this is what we have so far. So I'm gonna finish up the connections and put the flywheel back on and give this thing a try. Okay, we're getting very bad things happening. Anything I touch is just arcing out badly. Ooh, yeah. So don't follow whatever I did. This is all very bad. I don't know what's going on. I've reversed some things. The wires within this harness, I took those out and reversed them. Same effect. Something's not happy. Alright, this is kind of odd. This is the kill wire going to the coil. But I have my red lead there, and if I get my charge, this is the charge. A little hard for you guys to see. See? So this gives me like half. Charge the battery. Just a little confused on the setup of that. I don't really get what's going on there. Why does this seem to be the other side of the circuit that I need? I thought that was like the kill going to the coil. A little confused on that. Amazon has arrived. Parts cannon here. And I wish I was joking. Let me go over what I have here and why I bought all this stuff. Yeah, box of goodies over here. We'll get into that in just a minute. But why did we order a box of goodies? Okay, so electrical is not my strong suit. Although I do find it kind of fun, and like I like messing around with it. I'm just not very good at it necessarily. And part of my tinkering around with things has now, well, it did two I'm touching wrong wires to wrong things, and you know, sparks are flying and stuff like that. At one point I blew out the coil, so I had no spark. I had to replace the coil. Luckily I had a brand new one, but now I have no crank. So I don't know what I did. There's no fuse on this John Deere, and I think John Deere might do this on a couple of its probably cheaper lawn tractors, is Morning, Carmen. Is not provide a fuse. We have a few things. So at first I'm thinking, oh, I just blew a fuse. We do have a diode here, and then we have 3 relays, and I'm gonna replace them all. So I have 3 new relays and a new diode, and then hopefully that does it. If that doesn't do it, we might be talking about the key switch or something like that. But we're having big time electrical problems, so but I've made it worse. So we got to get back to at least where we have crank again. I can jump the solenoid and like the engine spins over, so I didn't ruin things, anything like that. Like the starter works, spark, it runs. We can make it run if we need to, but we don't have crank with the key anymore. So as you can see, I got the battery out, and I already started to take out some of those relays. But let's go over what we have in the box. This is our front bumper piece, so that's really exciting, but kind of premature. Yeah, so we'll get to that in a minute. I bought a new voltage regulator with a new stator, and we're not messing around anymore. We got a 2-wire stator, so that's exactly what came off of this engine, was a 2-wire stator. Instead, I'm trying to toy around with a 3-wire stator, and whatever. We're not doing that anymore. 3 new relays. That's just some mounting hardware for the bumper, and then a spark plug. That all came with the stator and the voltage regulator. Oh, and the diode. Here's, you can see that thing in there. Anyway, the red thing. So, yeah, kind of a weird part. Just trying to see if they had a name of it. Part number AM122590. That's what that is. Kind of a weird part, but I don't know necessarily if that's blown. I just figure let's try that. So we're going to start with the 3 relays and the diode, and then we're going to see if we have crank again. Electronics are hooked up now. Just what I'm trying to do is return this somewhat to its natural state, like how I got it, because I wasn't having key switch problems before I started touching it. But yeah, I did create this one little connection here. This comes off of the kill wire for the coil, and I shouldn't have done that. I was, again, messing around with things. But I basically have everything disconnected. Here's our stator wires. They are not hooked up, so we shouldn't be getting any, inappropriate voltage or anything like that going on. Basically, I'm trying to get us back, like I said, to square one, where we can get the thing to fire. It just doesn't charge the battery. I don't even expect any of these wires to heat up because I don't have the stator connected. So sort of back to square one. Back to square one, but safer. All right, enough talking. Let's hit the key switch here. Let's see what happens. Nothing. Not great. Not great. Well, we got nothing. I installed a different key switch. Let's see if that does anything. Nothing. Like, I don't even hear anything. I wonder if I fried the solenoid, I could swap out the solenoid too. We could do that. It's just really odd to try to diagnose this with no fuse. That's what's sort of driving me crazy and made me buy all those relays. Because it's acting like there's a blown fuse. But we don't have one. So I swapped out a solenoid, and the solenoid works. I can jump the trigger wire and we can get this thing to start. So what that's telling me is that we're getting no power to the key switch, you know, to give a trigger, a low voltage trigger to our solenoid. I can't figure out why. I mean, it really honestly just acts like there's a blown fuse. I'm getting no voltage. I'm probing all over the place on the back of this key switch and getting nothing in any of the keys, any of the positions with the key, you know, especially trying to go all the way to crank, and I'm not getting anything. I've looked this up too, and people can't find like an inline fuse or anything. They just say that John Deere didn't put one in. So what does that mean? It means like a wire got too hot, and you know, I'm gonna have to find that or something. I don't really know what to do. The purple wire here, there's a purple wire that goes to the trigger, but I believe this red wire here should be the red wire coming off of the battery side of the solenoid, and it's just not, it's not working out. So maybe there's something wrong with that red wire somewhere along the way. Not really sure. All right, just another update. So I took this wire. This is gonna be almost impossible. I put it in here to like juice up the red wire. Like I shoved it in the back of that harness. I touched it to the battery side of the solenoid. Okay. Then I turned the key and it worked. So we're not getting power to the key switch. There's something wrong with that red wire. I could simply just replace that red wire. I mean, it would be nice. I'll take this battery out again and I'm gonna see if I can find out what's wrong with that wire. But that's what's going on there. I'm not getting continuity, I guess, from the red wire in the harness of the key switch to the solenoid. Again, this is like just trying to get back to square one where our key switch works. We're not even talking about the charging system yet, which, you know, I mean, I could go ahead and work on the charging system and then just kind of assume I'll figure out the key switch, but I'm almost more willing to do it this way first. I want to get the key switch to work, and then I'll take the shroud off this, replace that stator, replace that voltage regulator, and then hopefully that will do it. But let me get some things apart again. At least I know things work for the most part. We can make things work. That's usually how I like to start. Like, can we make it work? And then now we need to make it work correctly. Okay, so we have a multimeter probe into that powered wire, should be powered wire, going into the key switch. That red wire, I got the battery removed so you can see, goes down to a split, and that goes to, like I said, the hot side or the battery side of the solenoid here, and I'm getting no continuity there. So if I touch the terminal there, I'm getting no beep, and I have the beep on. Okay, getting no beep. If I come and follow the other side of that Y, where the red wire comes out, it comes out to the harness that will eventually hook up to the voltage regulator, and if I touch there, I do get a beep. So from here to here is continuous, but here it's not. My guess is honestly that this connection is broken. I guess in this blue wire here that connects the two reds, like the two reds are touching, but the blue wire is not touching the reds. That's my guess. I could try one other thing where I'll put this in the red where the red wire is, and then I could take this one out and touch the blue wire just to see, but I have a feeling I'm gonna have to redo that blue wire. Okay, just to show you, yeah, so I have that touching the red wire. If I come up here, I'm getting no continuity. This blue wire is dead. The red wire is fine. It's the blue wire. Very interesting, but it must have fried. It might have been just a cheaper wire or something like that, and somehow fried out. Okay, we have it hooked back up. I have one probe from the multimeter into the key switch, and now you can hear continuity. We're getting continuity all over the place now, so I think I solved that. Really all that was the connector, and that bluish wire was a solid wire, not like a wound wire, and it was cracking. It was cracked in multiple places, but they were still sort of touching. But if you pulled on it, it all kind of fell apart. So I just replaced that full blue wire and spliced in the 2 reds to a new red, whatever, and it's hooked up here with a little connector. So we're gonna hook the battery back up. Hopefully we have key start again. All right, this is long awaited for me. It's been several days and sort of just, you know, keep thinking about all these electrical issues. Let's see if we can finally get it back to a key start. Let's go. There we go. Shut off doesn't work, but I think that's because I have a bunch of stuff unplugged still. Yeah, the wiring harness over there was unplugged. So let me just fire it up one more time. Make sure we got it all going here. The backfires never sound that loud on the GoPro. That was a huge backfire. I don't know. That was weird. Very weird, but okay. Key switch worked. We don't have an anti-backfire solenoid, so I guess we should be not surprised. See, that's why they make those. They keep those backfires away. As you can see, flywheel off, stator off. Got the new part here, and it's got 2 connections, which, you know, makes sense to me. Being alternating current, shouldn't really matter. And we'll feed it on this way, get it installed. So with the voltage regulator, I've kept it hooked up the way that it came to me, at least, with the black wire in the middle, this little discolored white wire, and another white wire, and I'm gonna hook it up that same exact way to the new one, just so we can start from kind of where we left off. See if we need to make adjustments. Hopefully not. Okay, we might have a repair here. Let's see. We're gonna fire it up. I have my multimeter. It's gonna be hard to kind of watch me do it, so I'm just gonna check and see if we're charging the battery while it's running here. Okay, so that's pretty frustrating. I gotta look up and like, I mean, it's possible with these sort of charred wires here that we have some problems there. That's very likely, you know, so I gotta start trying to sort that out. This is frustrating. Another little update here. Here's finally something that works. If I just take the 2 wires from the stator and go to the A and the other A, this B post is plugged in from the harness. Hopefully you can see that. Then my battery's charging. I have 14 volts to the battery, 14 volts DC. And even the headlights had 14 volts, which is a little concerning. So that's why I'm wondering if some of that is not right, but that's at least a start. Okay, I don't know, this seems to be working. I didn't think that was going to be the way to hook up that voltage regulator, but we got lights. I just threw the hood on there, and we have a good charging system. I'll keep checking on everything, but that looks correct. I'd say we're due for an official test run now. Start it up, make sure it drives well and mows and all that stuff we did initially, but now we won't have any smoking wires or things that don't charge, so let's give it a try. speed. We're not mowing yet. I just saw this by the road. This didn't come from a mower. I don't know what that is, but one, I didn't want to run over it, and two, I wanted to make sure it didn't come from this machine. Guys, we are back. This thing's running great. I don't think it needs any service on the deck. I'll do an engine oil change. There's too much oil in there, probably some gasoline in there. And yeah, I mean, even things like fuel filter look decent, but maybe we'll change out the fuel filter, oil, come up with a solution for the seat, and get the hood put back together. I don't know about you, but I feel safe to proceed on this project working on the hood. I didn't really want to work on that when the engine didn't run right, or the charging system didn't work, so let's put together this hood. This is the lower piece, aftermarket. Got it off eBay for whatever, under $20. Feels decent, you know. The plastic on the John Deere hoods doesn't feel great. It kind of feels just like that. It's thick plastic and all, it's just brittle, I guess. We have some of the hardware left over when we removed the broken part of that bumper, and there's also hardware. This will hook up to the lower bumper part, and then this also, there's a 1/2 inch bolt here with that retainer, and so we need to figure out how this all goes together. I'm going to remove the hardware that's existing on there. This kit came with like all the stuff we need. You know, we have those two, and then these like bushings that are here. I'm just going to use the existing ones because they're already in, but it's kind of nice. The kit comes with pretty much everything you need for the lower portion, at least. So let's try to get it installed. I don't know if you can notice it, but there's broken hood plastics. See? That, guys, a John Deere hood that works. And now that we have the hood figured out, I think it's time for a pressure washing. I wonder if it'll look better or worse after we clean it. I really don't know. It's one of those things where I don't want to do any painting on this one, but I sure hope that the power wash doesn't knock off some deck paint, especially. A little grimy down there, but that 38-inch deck is looking pretty good, so let's see if we can keep it looking that way. And it's a couple days later here, feeling very optimistic about finishing up this project. Box of goodies came in. Got a yellow seat cover, and we have an air filter, or oil filter, fuel filter, spark plug, and we're gonna get the oil drained on this right away. So we have a little, I use a tube sometimes to just help with that, keep the mess down. See if I can get it angled correctly. There we go. So we'll let that drain out. Oil looks pretty good though. It's probably changed somewhat recently. Even like the filter looks like it's not too worn. This whole thing was definitely stored inside, but like some weird things happened to it. Like something spilled on it. Looks like some chemical, maybe like a fertilizer or something. I've seen people do that before, just in the garage. Something might spill, but I'm not gonna go crazy to clean this thing up. I think it's going to sell for being a John Deere, and I've talked about it many times, and probably even the most recent video. You know, selling a tractor midsummer, you do want to keep the price down as much as possible, so you know, people might not be necessarily looking for the cleanest thing ever. Like, they're probably going to be okay with this scuffed up yellow deck with a little discoloration. You know, I think that's going to be fine, and that will help me to price it well, instead of going through all the labor of painting everything, and then I feel like I need to price it high just for my own time and effort. But so we'll keep this one a budget build here, and hopefully get it flipped and sold as quick as possible. Before I put the seat cover on, I'm just going to take care of some of these frayed pieces of seat plastic here, just so that it doesn't poke through the seat cover and just make it feel uncomfortable. But you know, there's no reason for me to like leave this stuff hanging like this. I'll just cut it off, get it as close as possible so there's nothing sticking up. That should be a lot better. Punctured it. Boy, it's on there, huh? At least it's coming off. But this one is on there. And we're making a good mess. Slightly different filter here. Will not screw on. So I don't know if you guys have run into this air filter problem before. I have. It's pretty annoying. So this is off Amazon. It says it's supposed to fit this engine, but it's too tall. And you can see, like, here's probably the original air filter or whatever, but this one really sticks up, and there's an interference with this like cap, those 4 rounded pieces there that protrude down. They interfere with that, whereas this one you can almost see that it's like designed for those things. So yeah, you put this on, and you cannot for the life of you get this that threaded part to engage with the stem here. It just will not connect to that bolt. So here's the solution I came up with. I took out the original bolts and put in longer ones, and then put in 2 nuts just as spacers, so it gets this post much higher. So now you can put this in, that goes in no problem. And you can feel like almost immediately, there, that's threaded on now. There you go. So I wanted to see if I can come up with a solution to that, because again, if everyone out here is buying aftermarket air filters on Amazon that say they're going to fit, like, I'd rather do that modification than like take out my grinder wheel or Dremel drill and modify the air filter cap, air filter cover. I don't want to modify plastic. So that, just adding 2 spacers, that's really easily reversible too if you wanted to. So I think that's the better way to do it. Oh, I forgot the wing nut, so let's not have anyone leave me too many comments. This goes down. There we go. Then this goes. And on this side we did the oil, and we changed out the fuel filter, and I took out the older spark plug. It was an auto light. Looks pretty good. And the Amazon thing that shipped to me is actually a HYPA part. So that's a HYPA spark plug BK5ECU. And I think I'm going to use it, especially since it's HYPA. It's another morning. I've been working on some other projects, editing, filming, and I'll show you one of them here. Check out this monstrosity. So I purchased this thing for $60 for the mowing deck, and it fired right up. And so I used the mowing deck obviously, but then I found out this thing is super fast. It goes like 8 miles per hour, and it just hauls it up the hills. So I was like, yeah, this would be fun to sell as a hauler, but I don't have a cart. So I went out and bought a cart for 70 bucks, put the two together, put a new carburetor on that thing. It's just got like a simple 14.5 horsepower cylinder OHV Briggs, and put a new carb on it, did an oil change, and I have it listed for $400. Seems to be good interest in it. So yeah, figured that was kind of like a cool little quick project, not worth a video. But today's the day with this John Deere. We're gonna wrap this up today. I'm gonna drop the deck right now, inspect it. Not planning to do anything to it really. I'm just gonna take the blades off and sharpen them, put them back on, and then we're gonna polish it up, put on the seat cover, and call her done. Well, that took a little longer than I thought. It was kind of difficult to get this blade engagement part out. All right, I do not like this belt at all. Look at this. This is terrible. Like, really bad. Hanging on by a thread here, this belt. So that absolutely needs to get replaced. All right, I haven't tipped it over yet. At least the blades are heavy duty. Oh, these are nice blades. All right, good. So we don't need to replace the blades. These are good. Very thick. Look at the thickness on this. All right, we'll sharpen those, no problem. We need to clean this deck a little bit. Could use a power wash underneath. It's a nice shape, but that's got to be the original belt, and I cannot believe it lasted even through my little bit of testing that I've done with it. And you've seen in this video, especially at the beginning, I mowed a lot with it. You know, and that's something that I like to do on my channel, is actually demonstrate it with you guys. You know, I see a lot of channels that don't do that. Alex at Freedom Mowers, he does it. He ends his videos almost the same way I do. You know, does like a big part of his lawn. He mows it for you guys. You know, you watch a lot of channels that just sort of fix it in the garage and then say, oh, it's done. I always feel like you got to go through some paces with it. You know, it's impossible to always test things like for weeks or days. I mean, you could, but then you're just not selling machines. You got to give it a reasonable test here. So, all right, my reasonable test, it passed the test, but probably just barely. That belt could have snapped at any moment. So let's remove it. Let's see what I have, or we might need to make a trip to Tractor Supply and get a new belt for this thing. Okay, so that 1/2-inch belt is quite long. I don't have anything even close to that long in my stash, so hopefully Tractor Supply has something like that on the shelf. Seems like it's going to be over 100 inches. I don't know, so might have to go to Napa. Blades came off easily. I'll get those sharpened up. We'll get this thing cleaned, but yeah, I ran into a little bit of a hiccup here with needing a new deck belt. So 6 days later, the belt finally came in. This was supposed to be next day shipping, but you know how it's been going. So this belt was a little bit more special than I thought, I guess. 114.5 inches. I think that's what this is. I'll double check for you guys. Anyway, so we have it. That's great. You can see I have the blades off. I sharpened those. Not sure if I showed you that. Also, I've been working on some cosmetics on the tractor itself. And kind of ironic, because I was working on this and then UPS pulled in the driveway with the belt. But I painted this part that had that little discoloration, and you can't really see it here, but it was discolored on the green, and I used the magic eraser again and it took it right off. And I did a bunch more with the magic eraser. That thing is awesome. I never thought I'd be using it on tractors, usually just using it inside the house, but just a recommendation from me to you guys. If you're trying to clean up some things, it works great. You can see kind of I was working on it because it's still a little wet, but there was a lot of white paint right here too, and it took it right off. You can still see a little bit, but these bumpers had some paint and scuffs, and that cleaned it up too. So pretty happy with how this is coming out. I still have no plans to paint the deck. We're just gonna roll with it the way that it is, but let's finally get the deck reassembled with a good belt this time. And I know some people are worried about the drive belt. I went under there, I looked, no cracks at all. The drive belt is in perfect condition. I'm not going to change that. I don't need to. So we're good with that, but definitely that deck belt needed it. So let's get that installed. Well, I wanted to show you the belt diagram before I put the belt guide over here. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting setup for sure, but you have a long piece that goes all the way around the back. And here's like your tensioner right here. So that's what that looks like. And just in case any of you want to know the part number I ordered, the John Deere number is M126536, and that'll bring up 114-inch belt. It's a 1/2-inch belt. I believe it's actually 14.5 inches, but I just looked it up quick and it said 114, but whatever, something like that. The mowing deck is put back on. The belt was the correct part, so everything's working as it should. Let me just hop on real quick, give you guys a demonstration. Step on the brake, put on the choke, starts up. keep it nice and short for you this time. So I do want to shine this thing up a little bit. I'm going to try some Armor All protectant wipes. I've been doing like interior stuff lately, so let's see what this looks like. Yeah, I don't know if that really did anything at all. Maybe it just cleaned up a little bit of dirt. But I'm gonna try this spray away interior detailer, the stuff I used on the Cub Cadet video. I mean, it worked really well on the black plastics and stuff. So I kind of want to save some of this bottle. Maybe I'll just stay with that. I won't even do the green. The green looks pretty good. All right, I like it. Let's put the seat cover on finally. And there you go, guys. I think I'm keeping this one kind of simple for how to clean and polish this thing up. Like I said, I didn't do the deck, so we're just kind of rolling with the way that it looks, and just really quick wipe down, shine up some of the black plastics, put a new seat cover on. I think this will sell for, I don't know, I'd say at least $600, maybe more, but I'm pretty happy with this. This is a nice little John Deere. Not a bad mower for a smaller backyard. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Kyle and the channel is called Kyle by the Creek. I hope you enjoyed this 2001 John Deere LT 133. Fun project. Nice John Deere, turned out pretty nice. I listed it for $700, so we'll see what happens with that. I hope you guys enjoyed, especially the electrical diagnosis of this. I tried my best to document it. It's really difficult, like I said earlier, to actually show yourself trying to figure this out, but I did come up with a few concrete things that I felt like I could show you, and things that, you know, I solved along the way that actually worked out. So tricky stuff when you have an issue with the machine that either doesn't fire, doesn't turn over, doesn't have spark. You know, anything with electrical can be really tricky. This one, especially since it didn't have an inline fuse, that threw me off for a little while, but eventually we did figure it out. And then it took a little while for me on my end to get the parts, especially that deck belt. But for you, it's just a blink of the eye, but that's just how it goes. Sometimes you gotta wait for parts. So hopefully someone will enjoy this little tractor. I think it'll be nice for, like I said, a smaller backyard. I wanna thank you guys again for liking, subscribing, sharing, and commenting. I'll catch you guys on the next tractor video.